Welcome, it's Amy Chappell here from Amorini Designs, and today I'm going to walk you through the steps to create a faux banded pillow. This pillow is a fun accent piece and it gives you the look of a floating band around the pillow without having to worry about adjusting the bands or having them shift on you. To begin with, you're going to need your fabrics. You will also need either PeelnStick Fabric Fused or HeatnBond UltraHold. If you're going to be assembling your bands independently, whether you're doing a quote like I like to do on mine, or you're just using a separate accent pillow, and if you're not going to need to apply any heat to them, PeelnStick would be a fabulous alternative. If, however, you are going to be adding heat to your pillow front in any way, I would recommend using the HeatnBond UltraHold, since you know it's already going to hold up well to the heat. A lot of times when I'm doing the quote on the quote band, which is this white accent band, I will sometimes have it where the heat transfer vinyl or the applique goes off the edge, and I will be doing that after I've already put the two bands in place. And in that case, I definitely want to use the HeatnBond UltraHold. For your fabrics, I am using Serendipity fabrics that were generously provided by Riley Blake Designs. You can use any fabrics that you want. I like to use this accent band, this smaller accent band, to have a quote or a little saying on my pillows. But you could also just substitute this white fabric for a second accent fabric and then just have it be a double banded pillow without any words on it. To begin, you will cut your pillow front, which is this navy fabric, to a 20 by 20 inch square. This will create a 20-inch pillow. I like to have my pillow form a little bit smaller, or my pillow cover a little bit smaller than my pillow form, in order to have a nice full squishy pillow. If you like your pillows a little bit looser, then you would do a 21-inch square. And again, adjust the width of these band pieces to the 21 inches as well. For today's purposes, we are cutting a 20-inch square of our main fabric. We will cut a 12.5 by 20-inch rectangle of your accent fabric. And then for my quote, I am cutting a 8.5 by 20-inch piece of fabric. If you are going to add a quote, you will also need that. I'm using heat transfer vinyl. You could also do applique or embroidery, any kind of embellishments that you want to this other accent piece. Once you have your pieces cut, you are going to fold both of your band pieces right sides together along this long edge, and then you will take it to your sewing machine and stitch a 1/4 inch seam all the way down this long edge to create a long narrow tube. Then you're going to turn your tube right side out and press your bands. And again, you'll do this for both your small accent band and your larger accent band. Once you have your bands adhered, then you can go ahead and add your iron-on vinyl or your quote there. If you were doing applique, I would probably do it before I have adhered my bands. That way I'm only stitching through the one band. And in that case, depending on the applique process and what I'm doing exactly, I would probably go with the PeelnStick instead of the HeatnBond for attaching my bands to my main fabric. Once you have your pillow front assembled, then all you have to do is create a back for it. My favorite way to do a pillow back for this type of pillow is to do a hidden zipper in the bottom seam of the pillow, and I will link in the description to my video tutorial for that process. But once you've made your back, you have a gorgeous accent pillow to use around your home. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Once you have your bands sewn, turned right side out and pressed, now we're going to apply our HeatnBond or our PeelnStick. And either way, it works the same. Only with HeatnBond, you add heat, and the PeelnStick, you can just use pressure. So you will measure a length. I usually do about 18.5 inches. For the assembly of my pillow, I like to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance just so that I have plenty of fabric in my seams for a pillow that's going to be used quite a bit. So I want to make sure that the HeatnBond UltraHold or the PeelnStick Fabric Fuse aren't going to be in my seam allowance because they will gum up your sewing machine needles. So I cut it down to about 18.5. That way I have a little bit of play on either side. Or, you know, you could go closer to 19 inches, but I just want to make sure that I have absolutely no chance of sewing through any of that adhesive. So if you're doing the HeatnBond, you will, well, either way, you'll place it paper side up, so the adhesive side is facing down. If you're using the HeatnBond UltraHold, you are going to apply just a little bit of heat to get that to stick to your fabric. I really like to use my Easy Press too for this, because it doesn't have any steam involved, and also it has a nice timer, so especially when you go to do the second adhering where you want it to really stick to your fabric, it has a countdown timer that will help you make sure you're giving it adequate time and an even temperature across a larger surface. Anyway, once you have your adhesive attached to your band, you are going to peel away the paper. And another thing that's nice about using the HeatnBond is that the adhesive isn't tacky yet, and not until you apply the heat. So if you're doing the peel and stick, I would just do one row of adhesive first, and then get your band centered and placed where you want it, and then adhere that one side, and then peel off the second side and adhere it, so that you have a little bit of play to work with it. So once you have your paper peeled off, we are going to attach it to our main fabric. Now, in order to figure out the center of this fabric, I will fold it in half, and then I will just do a little finger press here at the edge, just to mark where that center line is. I am, just a little side note here, I am using this pressing mat that my grandma gave me so that I have a larger pressing area to work with. If you're using an Easy Press, you really don't want to do it on your ironing board because it's not stable enough. So a pressing mat like this is really nice. If you're using your regular iron, you can absolutely do this on your ironing board. So it's really hard to see on this dark fabric, but I have my crease line there. And then what I'm going to do is repeat the same thing with my band. I'm just going to fold it in half. And actually, I like to make sure that my seam where it's sewn is facing down, and just the folded edge is facing up. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to fold it on this side so it matches. So I'm just folding it in half again and just finger pressing that line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up my creases and then slide it up just a little bit, because it's a pillow, and once you put the pillow form in there, it bulges a little bit and also kind of slumps a little bit forward, just the weight of the pillow form. I like my bands to be just above center so that it still appears visually centered once the pillow form is attached or is set inside of it. So once I get that lined up how I want and get my edge on there, then I'm going to start applying heat. Now, when I am using my Easy Press, the HeatnBond needs medium heat. I usually set my HeatnBond to, or my Easy Press to about 310, 315 degrees. That's about a medium temperature. So I will just go work my way all the way down my pad or my band here and get it all nice and fused. And then I will go back and repeat the same thing with my second accent band.